Welcome to you, my name's Dale and this is Dale's Addiction. Today I am bringing you all of the bags that I have sold and why, and a bit of an analysis about what it says about my style, where I've been, where I'm at, and potentially where I'm going. I'd like to invite you to draw some conclusions as well. I have created a collage of all of these bags, and for me, I can see that there are some themes and there are just some absolute outliers. And I have always wanted to look at them all in one place instead of doing the little bits and bobs here and there where I've sold pieces. And I have to say, it's pretty interesting. So I'm going to pop up on the screen here the collage that I made of all the bags that I've sold. And these have been pieces that I've sold since I have been on YouTube. And I started YouTube around April 2020. Now, that's when my luxury collection really kind of started to hit its stride. I had probably, I'm going to say 9 or 10 bags in my collection to start with, and that rapidly grew as YouTube happened. But there's a couple of things that I want to point out in this particular collage, and I'm going to have it up on the screen most of the time today. I'll go over each of the pieces that I've sold, a quick explanation as to why, and then we'll draw some conclusions. So these are in no particular order, just in the order of the collage. The Louis Vuitton Clapton in the Damier Ebene, that one I sold just recently. I bought it as a travel bag. I absolutely loved it. It's been quite a while since I've traveled overseas now, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. But I think when I was being realistic with myself, I am the kind of person that's going to go and source a new bag for my next overseas trip, because to me that is a part of the fun of heading overseas in the first place. So I don't see myself pulling that bag back out, and it has been sold. The Pochette Métis, again, I got caught up in the hype with that bag. I thought it would be good for travel. I did not enjoy using it for travel. I found it quite cumbersome compared to the Clapton, and I chose to keep the Clapton over the Pochette Métis. But I did end up selling the Clapton as well. Both of them are just a little brown for me. The tambourine bag, the Louis Vuitton tambourine, I loved the shape of it. It was really unique, but for me, I think that has more of a boho vibe, and that's not really my jam if you've watched my channel for a little while. And as much as I tried to love it, there are a few things about it that didn't work for me, and so I sold it. The Chanel Square Pearl Crush in the lemon yellow was just a delight, and that was a colour I absolutely thought that I needed to have in my collection. The problem is that I have quite a few wicker pieces in my collection, and every time I was going for a bag of that particular tone, I would choose texture. I would choose the wicker pieces, and therefore that bag just wasn't getting reached for, and I knew straight away I just had a redundant piece in my collection. The Chanel 19 in the famous 21p caramel. I wanted a brown Chanel 19 bag. I wanted a neutral Chanel 19 bag. You guys told me this one was coming. I contacted my SA and I was lucky enough to get one in the first drop. And in Australia, that's no mean feat. But I was finding it really hard to style. I found it really difficult to put it with my outfits and feel like it belonged. And I think one of the conclusions that I drew with that bag, and I forced myself to wear it for a whole grid in my Instagram, that even though for anyone else it might be the perfect neutral piece, for me it's not my kind of neutral. I think my neutrals are more greens and lilacs and colourful bags. They seem to work better with the colours that I have in my wardrobe. The Louis Vuitton twist in the Coquelicot, the red colour. Red's not one of my colours. My husband bought that bag for me as a gift, and as difficult as it was to say it wasn't working, I just had to say it. It was a redundant piece in my collection. Maybe I used it on Valentine's Day, but it wasn't a bag that I ever really picked up. It's too structured for me, the red colour. Yeah, so needless to say, I sold that one. The Chanel 19 Spring Summer Pink Iridescent Small Classic Flap that I had sourced for me over in London by personal shopper Indulge by Sahar. Hi Sahar. It was another hyped piece. I needed to have that bag. I love pink. It was so pretty. It was all over YouTube and Instagram. And when I opened it, I just went, it's just too pretty. It's just not me. I needed something a little bit ugly about it, and it just wasn't giving me that. The small flap didn't really work for me in terms of the strap drop and the capacity. I felt that the mini rectangular was a much better size, and so I sold it on. The Chanel reissue, I think mine was a 225. I purchased overseas. I got a 14% VAT discount in Barcelona for that bag, and that's why I bought a classic, because I thought, when else am I going to get a classic Chanel bag with a bit of a discount? However, I just wore that bag maybe once or twice. It really wasn't for me. I thought the edgier vibes of the reissue would have worked. It just didn't. Again, strap length. It just, maybe if I'd have bought a pre-loved one that was a little bit more battered and soft, I would have liked it more, but it was just too perfect for me. The Chanel Mini Rectangular, I have mentioned recently that I sold that bag because I felt that it was duplicated in my collection, and I chose to hang on to my Chanel heart bag in the black lamb leather with the champagne gold hardware instead of that bag. I loved it when I first got it, I really did, but I think as my collection's evolved, I look for something that's a bit different, a bit whimsy, a bit playful, and even though that bag is playful and cute, I found that I prefer my heart bag more. The Dior, My Lady Dior ABC, which is the option that you can personalize in the small size. I bought that because I thought I must have the iconic Lady Dior bag. I liked the fact that I could customize it. I was surprised myself that I was drawn to the black, and usually when I'm drawn to black in a bag that I don't really like in any other color, that's a giveaway for me. That bag was pretty much done for me when the shoulder strap didn't really work. I bought a model where the strap wasn't long enough to crossbody. I also found the flap really annoying, and when I purchased my Fendi Mini Peekaboo in black, I found that there was redundancy in my collection, and I sold that bag. You'll notice the Fendi Mini Peekaboo is also on the list, and that's because, for no other reason, that I had 10 black bags in my collection, and recently I did a video which I'll pop up here to try and help me curate that collection and bring it back down, because I wasn't reaching for a lot of them, and that bag was one that I had to force myself to use because I chose other more fun bags. And that's just me. I know that's not everybody, but I made the tough decision to move it on, and whoever purchased that got a really great buy because peekaboos have just gone up in the vicinity of $1,000 in Australia, so well done. The Louis Vuitton Speedy 25 in the denim jacquard from the January release this year was such a gorgeous piece. I've kept the micro in that collection, but the Speedy itself, it's just not a silhouette that I really enjoy carrying. I couldn't find a way to wear it that it felt like me, and it was pretty clear to me after only a couple of months that it wasn't working, and I sold it to one of my lovely subscribers here, Heidi. The Prada Re-Edition 2005 in the beautiful water lily colour. That bag is absolutely gorgeous. That colour is a perfect nude neutral with a blushy pink tone. It's so convertible. You can wear it for evening, you can wear it casually, but for me, I just have so many other options that the one that I'm going to go to least is the one that's the most neutral and plain. So I decided that it was time for that one to go, and I don't miss it. The Chanel wallet on chain in the beige from 21K. This was a beige that I really loved, a cool, clean beige with really chunky caviar and silver hardware. I thought, I can do this. I can have a beige bag in my collection. I should have one. Well, no. I rarely reach for it. The classic style I don't particularly like. I prefer the golden class in the wallet on chain because it has a much more substantial locking mechanism. The beige I found, again, same with that Chanel Mini in the Pearl Crush, is that if I wanted something in that kind of neutral tone, I would gravitate towards a wicker bag or a straw bag instead, and so I sold that one. All of these answers end the same, don't they? And I sold it. Next is the Valentino Mini Rock Stud bag. This one I picked up and it was one of those impulse purchases, and I already had a Valentino camera bag in exactly the same colour. I've worn it once or twice as an evening bag, but very rarely, and again it was just one of those things that I'm thinking, that bag is worth $1,500 and it's just sitting on my shelf and it's not doing anything. I mean, it sells at retail now for like $2,700, but somebody picked that up for an absolute steal and I'm so happy for them. The Chanel boy bag. This was the boy bag that I thought of any boy bag was definitely going to work for me. It was this beautiful, clean, cool grey colour with shiny silver hardware. Stunning piece, a stunning piece, but again I never reached for it because when I wanted something edgy or cool I tended to reach for my Valentino, funnily enough. So my Valentino camera bag, it has that kind of more cool pastel finish, it has a bit of edge in the rock studs, and I pick that up every time over the Chanel boy bag. And finally, the Prada double tote in cameo. I purchased this bag in Milan back in 2005. It was a little bit beaten up, and the reality is I've just bought some other new totes that I prefer to use more. And so this bag was at the end of its useful life for me. I was keeping it for no apparent reason, and I sold it, and its new owner got it for an absolute steal and loves it and uses it for their work bag. So I couldn't be happier. So when you look at all of those bags together on one page, what do you see? To me, I see a lot of classic pieces. I see a lot of neutral colours. The colours where there are pops are very, very vibrant, and they don't seem to form a part of my normal colour palette. I think the Speedy material could have worked for me, but not in the Speedy. I don't think the Speedy was a good choice of bag. Perhaps if I'd have picked up a bag in that print, potentially in actually, you know what, I just don't think in that size it was enough. I think because I wear colourful prints anyway, to have a bag that's that bright blue and clashing against the prints I'm already wearing, that's probably why it didn't work, to be honest. And when I did style it, I wore it with neutrals. The red, well, that's just an outlier. And that pink, I have nothing of that pink in my collection at all. In fact, pink is something that's pretty lacking in my collection, which is interesting. I am looking at like a magenta pink, a cooler toned pink, but I think that pink is quite a warm pink. And yeah, it's just a little bit too pretty, which is a weird thing to say. All of the blush pinks, I think that they worked for me, but they were redundant. I still have blush pinks in my collection, and you know, if I'd have added the re-edition, the Valentino and the Prada double tote back into my collection, I'd have like 6 or 7 in the same color, so that doesn't make sense. But yeah, there's a few hyped pieces in there as well. Obviously the Chanel reissue, the Pochette Matisse, the 21p caramel Chanel 19, very hyped pieces. So I guess, you know, for me, when I see them all on one page, if I was to go into a store and buy any of those back now, what would I choose to buy back? I'd be happy to let them all go, to be honest. And it's easy for me to say because I've owned them all, but I have absolutely no regrets in selling them. And that gives me such peace of mind. It's not funny. But what do you think when you look at my collection? What do you think are the patterns and themes there, besides what I've mentioned in terms of the colorways and the hyped pieces and the statement colors that kind of don't work in my palette? I'd be really keen to know, because understanding what doesn't work is a big part of learning about where to spend in the future. So, you know, since doing my color course with Caitlin, the 5 stages to style, I'll link it below. I've learned so much about why I like what I like. And it's not just intuitive now, it comes from a place of having some knowledge about it. And I think that really helps when you're talking about spending this kind of money, knowing what works for you and why and how to make it work in your wardrobe is really important, because we know that we can lose quite a bit of money on the resale market by making mistakes. So I'd love to know what you think about this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and subscribe. I'd love to see you back here. I would love to see my subscriber list grow to 8,000 before the end of this year. I think we can do it if you can help me out. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, or tell a friend about this channel. And even my dog is backing me up on that. So I usually put out content videos like this on Wednesdays and Sundays, if it's not Grinchmas or Vlogmas as we call it. So I hope to see you back here soon. Ciao.